Our sponsor this month is Published, an affiliate of Village Voices. Published offers all author services from writing tips, critiques, manuscript evaluations, and editing, as well as tips to help you become published. If you prefer to self-publish, purchase the step-by-step book on publishing through Amazon, or purchase services a la carte, from formatting to creating custom covers, or even tips to gather endorsements. The staff is headed by 2 professional writers. After your books are published, either trade paper, electronically, or both, purchase marketing tips, web services, book trailers, or turn your book into an audiobook. Publish provides all your writing, publishing, and marketing needs. So give them a call at 941-748-6865. Contact them online at dgould497@aol.com, or go to the website at www.publishedavillagevoices.webs.com. The intro you just heard was by Al Musitano. Welcome to Culture Coast.
Thank you.
Today we are interviewing Bob Ha. Is that how we say it?
Bob Hay.
Hay. It's pronounced Hay. It's
It is.
H-A-A.
Correct.
And he is the master brewer at Motorworks Brewing, a new brewing company in Bradenton. Welcome to Culture Coast. How are you today?
Very good. Very good. How are you?
Good. This is rather unusual, interviewing someone who creates beers. Now, Motorworks is going towards the national market as you head down the road. Right now, you're regionally kegging?
Yeah, the idea right now is to start in a local market, and we have started in Sarasota and Manatee County. And of course, we're going to go up north to Hillsborough and Pinellas next. So we want to, start in the local markets and then branch out from there.
Go statewide and then nationwide eventually?
Well, yeah, statewide is
Now, do you have enough room here to brew nationally?
Nationally, if you start talking about going into other states, probably in a minor way. But we do have enough room to buy more fermentation space, more fermenters, which is what we'll need in order to get into those new markets.
Sort of like when Coors first started up. They started as regional and went statewide and then national?
Well, I can't speak for Coors. That happened a long time ago. I would say that most craft breweries these days do start kind of local and try to get out to further and further markets, depending on what their philosophy and what their goals are.
Right, some of them just brew for their microbreweries and they just do their own customers.
They try to do a much more local market. It's smaller breweries. Breweries, I would say, that probably hit the 10 to 15 barrel mark per brew really are just doing a very small local market. It's almost more like a brew pub at that point.
Like hops used to be?
Like hops used to be, yeah.
Okay, but that is not where Motorworks is at. You started this with the intention of full brewing.
Absolutely. We started with a 30 barrel brew house. So the intention was to start in local markets and be able to get out into the statewide market in a short period of time afterwards. So that was our intent from the beginning. A 30 barrel brew house. We've got 3 30 barrel fermenters and 3 90 barrel fermenters. And at this point, once we have maxed out that fermentation space, we're looking at buying 3 120 barrel fermenters.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they will fit in here without any problem?
Well, they'll fit in here.
Might be a little bit of a problem.
There might be some cutting and welding going on to get these guys in the door.
How did this all begin for you? How old were you when you realized that you wanted to make beers? Did you start making them at home at any point?
I did. I mean, I never did like beer when I was young. A friend of mine introduced me to craft beer, which at the time really was just imported beer, because American craft had not really come very far at that point. And that was the late 80s when I started trying beers that I was amazed that, there were beers out there that tasted that way. So I got really into it very quickly. I'm kind of a hobbyist anyway at heart, and I always look for things to do on my, time.
Now, were you already working? Was this after you had finished school that this
Yeah,
started?
I was actually an accountant working in an accounting office, and I didn't really get into it with the intention of making it a career. I got into it because I thought that home brewing would be a lot of fun, and it is. And
you were drinking your own beer and sharing it with your friends?
I started getting into it. About 1990 is when I started home brewing. Had a lot of people help me along the way, and that's the way a lot of people do get into it, is homebrew clubs, and you meet people that are much more advanced. And
so there isn't like a university or a college that you
Sure
can go
there is.
to learn this?
Sure there is.
There is?
Absolutely. Siebel Institute up in Chicago. Berkeley Davis out in California.
They actually have...
They have fermentation sciences, and really here in the U.S., that's happening more and more. And you can find courses in even Florida schools now. It really has changed quite a bit over the years. Another big university is over in Bavaria in southern Germany, Weinsteffen. That's probably considered the best.
Yeah, I would say, because that's where it all originated, right?
Well, whether it actually originated right there, that's Weinsteffen is the oldest brewery in the world, for good reason. It's a really good brewery. Yeah, they've got a university there that is top rated.
So basically, for centuries, it was pretty much kept in the family, wasn't it?
A lot of times, it was kept just in the house. It wasn't really originally a commodity that was sold. It was just something that you did at the house because water was dangerous to drink, and this is the way that you could make water safe.
Oh, so back in the Middle Ages, that's what they did to kill the germs in the beer.
Sure.
In the water. Okay. And they had mead too in the wine, and
it made a whole lot of sense to keep yourself healthy. It was certainly a reason to also enjoy it, was the alcohol content.
No wonder they had so much fun at those festivals. So it originated to help people healthy-wise.
It was. That's a lot of history there. I mean, I'm
now then it was
simplifying.
In kegs, and it was basically stayed in kegs back then, didn't it?
Wooden barrels, yes.
Yeah,
and we had wooden barrels here too, for aging beer in a different way. But most of ours, of course, is stainless steel.
And I'm going to backtrack here a little bit. So the history of beer is that's how it started, and then when did the bottling process come in and the commercialization of it? Everything tastes the same, and like you said, you didn't like beer when it was in the cans or the bottles.
Well, I think that we're talking about, I didn't like beer because the only thing that was offered to me when I was younger was American light lagers, and it didn't really have a pleasurable flavor to me. It was just really light and almost like water, and it just didn't seem like something I cared for. So when I started drinking flavored beers, stouts and porters and pale ales, a lot of that stuff was coming out of England or Ireland or Germany. I was just really surprised at the difference, and of course these regions had been brewing beer since
forever,
sometimes upwards of 9,000 years that we know of. Those beers were completely different than what we were used to here, and that was due to...
They also don't refrigerate their beers in most of Europe, is that?
No, that's not true.
They do refrigerate
Absolutely.
now, cool them? Okay.
I know that's kind of a misnomer. There's a lot of things said that, beer is consumed warm or it's not refrigerated. Absolutely not true. Beer is probably consumed at a higher temperature than we do, but one of the reasons why we're used to such colder temperatures in beer is because those American light lagers, when they warm up over a certain temperature, say 46, 47 degrees, the type of sugar that they use causes a bitterness that is off-putting. If you've ever picked up a light lager that's warm and accidentally took a swig of it, you know what I mean. It is not a very pleasurable flavor. On the other hand, if you pick up a stout from Ireland and it's room temperature, it just tastes like a warmer version of itself. It doesn't change flavor necessarily. It actually just gets kind of enhanced.
So they don't mind it because it's still the same flavor.
Right, and room temperature in Ireland is a whole lot different than Florida.
That really has a lot to do with the sugar, correct?
It does. Actually, it's true.
'Cause-
Sugar, the type of sugar that you use, I mean, in a craft brewery like ours, we're using all malt. So either, barley or wheat, sometimes rye, but it's 100% malt that we use. We don't use any kind of rice extracts or corn extracts. When they do, and they use that type of sugar, that sugar is not as, certainly not as expensive. The quality is much lower, and it causes, at warmer temperatures in beer, for the beer to get better.
So the light lagers that you're talking about, that are the bushes and the buds and what about cores? That's considered one of those too.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Schlitz and Old Milwaukee, all of those.
All of those, yeah.
They're light lagers, and they're made with either corn or what was the other one?
It could
Rice?
be rice sugar or corn sugar.
Those
a lot of
because they're
times.
less expensive.
Less expensive. It's highly fermentable. Produces a lot of alcohol. Doesn't produce a lot of flavor, which is what they're going for, is a beer that doesn't have a lot of beery flavor.
Okay. When you say beery, that comes from the hops, correct?
No, I'm
No?
just being a little sarcastic.
No,
I've heard that in the past, but the flavor, yeah, absolutely. It's a combination of the type of yeast that you're using to ferment, the temperature that you're fermenting at, the type of grain that you're using. There's all sorts of grain. There's very light grain. There's crystal malts, which are kind of reddish. And then there's dark roasted grains, which gives you a lot of roasted flavors, like in porters and stouts.
And that's where you get Guinness and the
Absolutely.
dark ones.
Sure. Of course, hops, which are used a lot more these days than ever before, are going into a lot of IPAs, including ours, large volume.
When you say IPA,
Mhm.
what do you mean?
It's a style indication for India Pale Ale. Originated in England. They were actually sending it to India during the imperial times and feeding the troops.
IPA for
IPA.
Indian Pale Ale.
India Pale Ale. Yep. But I mean, it's much different now here in America. If you talk about an IPA, you definitely make the distinction between an American version and an English version.
Gotcha. Now, you're beginning, you've got this hobby, and you're making the beer at home, and you're an accountant by day and a brewer at night in your own
Weekends,
home,
really.
your home deal, and you're
Mhm.
letting it in your garage
Yep,
or a
absolutely.
separate room.
I got kicked out of the kitchen pretty quick.
Why, was it making a mess or a stink?
Both.
Both?
Oh, yeah.
So you got sent to the garage.
Yep, garage, which was much better actually for everybody. So.
And for the beer probably too, because it's not going to get jostled much.
I don't know about the beer so much in a garage, especially here in Florida, but yeah, it's.
Were you here when you first started?
Yeah, I was. I was living in Tampa, near Tampa. I just started home brewing, and then, like I said, it's about 1990, and I got into it kind of slow and wasn't really sure that this was what I wanted to do, but it just got to be more of an interest the further I went and the better I got at it, which again was because a lot of people helped me. A lot of other homebrewers that were more advanced helped me at the time.
And they're a close-knit group and
Yeah,
help a lot?
they're here in the U.S. especially, there's a lot of people that really want to help others get better at brewing. I think it's a really great group of people to be around. It's a great hobby to have. But my hobby ended when I took a job in a brew pub in 1998, which you brew all week, and then the weekend comes, and it really wasn't.
How did that come about? How did you switch from the hobby to actually working at it?
I took my beers to competition, to local competitions, won some medals, met some brewers. They were looking for help in the brewery, so I started inquiring, got a part-time assistant job, which, I kept my accounting job, and I went to that on off hours. And it got pretty serious pretty quick. I really enjoyed it. Within 8 months after that, I actually had my own store in Minneapolis. So I got shipped from here to Minneapolis.
Were you born here?
No,
Okay.
Florida. I've lived in Florida longer than any other place, but no, I was born, and moved around quite a bit from Maryland to Pennsylvania. And
So
down
what brought you
Alabama.
to Florida to begin with, to the Tampa area?
Well, my parents,
Okay.
moving around quite a bit. My dad was in radio and all his life. And so if you know anything about commercial radio and how that goes, you can get moved around quite a bit.
If you're successful, you keep going up and they get wider regional audiences.
Yeah.
You grew up here, then you go into the hobby, and where was your first job on your own? You were making the beers. You come up with the recipes.
Oh, well, coming up with the recipes is a little different, but like I say, my first store was in Minneapolis, and I did work for Hops at the time.
They were the first microbrewery really nationally, weren't they?
They were one of the first, I would say, pubs, chains. There were several other pub chains too, but at one point they had 72 stores, and they had done pretty well.
Did all the hops have the same recipe for their brew?
Yes, we did try to make it consistent, and for a long time, the corporate office wanted, 4 core beers. They didn't want anything else, and they kind of held it very tight like that. But the further we went along, and the better we got at brewing and controlling the 4 core brands, they let us start coming up with some new ideas. Because beer at that time was changing very quickly, and still is. We really needed to be more flexible with our recipes. So we
try some of those blueberries.
Right. No, I haven't done any blueberries yet, but I think that's probably coming. We just started hoppier pale ales and Oktoberfest styles, and it's on the safe side at first, but they got more and more adventures.
And do you try something at home first to see if it's something you want to go with, or
no? We've got a pilot system here that's about 3.5 barrels, and we can I can write a recipe. Put it on the pilot system and just see how it goes. If it's something that the customers really respond well to, or we think is a great recipe, then we'll ramp it up into the 30-barrel system. So it's actually kind of a nice way to just start out small
and see if
before you commit too much to
see if it's popular or not.
Well, not just popular, but when you try these experimental styles, sometimes you hit and it's great, and sometimes you got to go back to the drawing board.
Oh, that's a miss. Ooh.
I haven't had a real big problem like that where it's a huge miss, but just not quite what you want is what happens. I think in any kind of a recipe, you can understand how that might.
Oh yeah,
you're close, but that's not quite. You have to keep really detailed notes.
Very detailed.
I do at least. I know that some brewers probably don't as much, but I'm on the computer. I'm on Excel spreadsheet, and I make sure that I have that recipe every time I brew it. I know exactly what's on there because
now, is it mechanized, the different amounts that go into all of your machines out here? Do you have?
Well, some of it is. I mean, some of it is what you might consider a push button brewery, but most of it is not. Most of it is hands-on. You're turning on valves, turning off valves,
and you need to know how much of this ingredient and how much of that ingredient.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a silo out back. When it's filled up, it's about 50,000 pounds of grain.
How long would that last?
Well, that's interesting. Right now, we're thinking that that's going to last for about another maybe month. We got it back in, let's see, maybe mid-June, late June, so it's going pretty quick.
So about 3 months for that huge silo?
Yeah, probably so. Seems about
so 4 times a year you got to get more.
Well, yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah, and again, we're brand new, so these kinds of
you are distributing now, though.
Yeah, we are. Yes.
Now, how does that work? I know in different states. You said you worked at Hops? They didn't distribute anywhere except to Hops, correct?
Yeah, it was just a brew pub, and that's what a brew pub does. They just make beer for the actual restaurant, for the brew pub, where we're a microbrewery, and we are going to not only have our tasting room downstairs, but we also have distributors in the region that pick up our beer and deliver it to.
And when people call themselves microbrewery, does that mean that they are distributing elsewhere, or could it just be that they're delivering to their own bar?
Well, microbreweries generally deliver to other places. They'll deliver to a distributor. Here in Florida, the 3-tier system goes to a distributor, and a distributor actually has the accounts that they take the beers to.
The reason I'm asking is I know we have 2 other microbreweries that opened recently, but
right.
They're nowhere near as big as Motorworks.
Not necessarily. Let's see, Darwin's down the street here is 15, so about half our size, but their fermentation space is much less, and they're more like a brew pub, but they are doing some very minor distributing. I don't think you'll see too much.
I thought it was all going to their pub downtown.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see a huge distribution on those guys. You never know. More fermentation space just means more brewing. the other one, let's see, was Big Top. I think they have the same size system now. I haven't been down there yet. I don't know how much.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that, but I had heard that we had Brew.
Yeah, they're just right down the street.
When did you open?
Well, we opened late January. We were just a bar at that point. I mean, we were.
You weren't up and running with
Correct.
the vats.
No, we weren't. We weren't brewing at that point.
When did you start brewing?
We started brewing at, April.
All right, so back in April you started up,
Mhm.
and was it a limited when you first started, or did you start with everything going full blast? When did the silo come in?
Well, we didn't start brewing on the big system until about mid-June. April, we started with the small system and doing pilot batches and trying to come up with the right beer recipes that we wanted.
So you didn't know yet what recipes you were going to go with before it all started?
I had a pretty good idea.
You had core. How many core beers do you have?
Well, 4 right now.
4 here
So
in
we have
Motorworks.
a Kolsch porter and an IPA. We have a red ale, which is a hoppy red beer, and we've got a session, which is kind of our 5th. We got a Vienna that's in the big system as well. So we'll do a lot of different brews on the 30 barrel fermenters, so we can have some specialty stuff. And then the small system is going to be super special stuff.
Super special.
Yeah,
So maybe seasonal type things?
Well, definitely have seasonals. Our grand opening is coming up in late September. We're going to have a grand opening / Oktoberfest.
Nice.
Today I am brewing an Oktoberfest, which with a kind of an American hop twist to it. I wanted to change it up a little bit. And we're going to do that, and we're going to try to get a pumpkin beer in as well, and we're going to have just some specialty stuff.
Any apple or cinnamon or?
Well, there's certainly going to be in the pumpkin beer, like spices like nutmeg and cinnamon and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will.
I love those wines in the fall.
Oh, the mulled wines.
Yeah, the mulled wines.
Yeah, some of those can be really great, especially when it's cold. Yeah.
So you did not go to any of those colleges that we spoke of to
Nope.
learn. You just learned from other people and working it out yourself So
Right.
how did?
I was a bio major in college, and
then became an accountant.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't.
I'm sorry, that just doesn't.
I know it didn't make sense. And, I was very happy to get into something that was actually more my style, I guess. But I did spend a couple of years at the University of Minnesota studying mycology, which is yeast related to brewing.
You did that after you started brewing, or
Yeah,
before?
I did. Yeah, once I got up to Minneapolis, I
Had to do something to keep warm.
Well, it's certainly very cold up there, but it's a great place. I really enjoyed it.
So where did you go from there? How did you get back here?
Well, I got promoted in hops, and the corporate office was down here, so I ended up starting to do the R&D. So I was doing research and development brewing. So all of the different seasonals that started coming out for hops at the time, me and a couple of other brewers were actually doing the development of those recipes. So I got back down here. I had a couple of stores until I started writing recipes.
And are any of them going to be named after you?
Not so far. There was no
hay beer?
No plans on it yet.
I like the idea of hay beer.
Yeah, we might come up with something that's funny.
So where do you see it going from here for you? Is this your first place that you've been head brewer of your own?
Micro, yes.
Yeah,
definitely. As far as where it's going from here, I mean, we are certainly growing slowly at first right now, and we're hiring some people on to take care of some of all of this work that we've got.
So you don't have to do it all yourself and can...
Yeah, so I can actually start maybe taking a day off now and then would be nice. But in the meantime, I work a whole lot of hours. I don't mind it because, I understood getting into this that it's a startup brewery, so I'm going to spend a whole lot of time here getting things going. But yeah, I mean, our intention is to eventually go statewide, which is something that is probably going to take, a little time to get to.
How long do you think?
Well, I would hope that we could get statewide within a year.
That's pretty quick.
That would be nice. That's very quick. thing is, the market's growing so fast right now. There's so many beers and so many breweries that are opening up here in Florida that it's good to get your product out, into other markets.
That was
pretty
Frank and
quickly.
Denise's intent right from the beginning, though,
Yes.
right? They never meant to be small. They always wanted to go
They want
national.
to go big. And 30 barrels, you can certainly do that. It's a lot of work to get 30 barrels out, statewide. It's a big state. A lot of people here, so it's kind of hard to cover it.
And you've got lots of competition, so you have to be better than them
Yeah.
at both marketing and the beer.
Let's just say friendly competition. And what's nice about craft beer is that we're all pretty much friends. The people that I know around here that brew, nice people that I've known for many years.
Do you know the people at Darwin's and Big Top?
I do. I don't know Darwin's and Big Top as much. Cigar City guys, though, I've known for many, many years. Great guys. Yes, we're in competition in one way, but in another, we help each other. We're competing with the big guys.
Yeah.
We're competing with, the American Light Lager group. Those guys have the main market, have the biggest market. So we want our industry to thrive and to grow, and that's how we see it.
And you all support each other to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Because if you can bring them away from that light lager, that they're going to be all of yours for life because they're not going back to the light lager.
Yeah, just like with the food revolution that we're having here in America right now, beer's the same way.
Let me ask the cans.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning to go cans or do they stay bottles?
Well, we're going to go.
And isn't there a big difference?
Our mainline stuff, yes, there can be. With our specialty stuff, we're probably going to have bigger bottles that are going to be special releases in the bar only. But our main line packaging is going to be cans. Cans tend to treat beer better than bottles these days. Absolutely.
Because of the light?
There's a lot of people who think the opposite. They're, of course, probably hearkening back to the 70s or 80s when cans weren't as good as they are now. All cans are lined, so there's no beer touching metal, keeping the light out, and it does.
It's about
and
the
it
light.
has, also oxygen too. There's less oxygen pickup in the cans, and that's a big deal with beer. It can get oxidized very quickly and not taste nearly as fresh.
So the glass bottles, even the dark ones, they let in
still let
oxygen?
And more oxygen does get picked up during the bottling process than in the canning process.
Interesting, very interesting. So you're going to be here until you're rich and famous?
Yeah, probably the rest of my life. I don't know about rich.
And you really love what you do?
Absolutely.
And
it's very rewarding to be able to come in and produce something and leave at the end of the day and know that you have a beer recipe done and in the.
Are you a part owner in the brewery or just?
No, not really. It's kind of sweat equity right now, but we'll see about what the future brings.
Okay. They don't want to have anybody stealing you away from them.
You'd have to ask the Cheetahs about that. I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on Culture Coast, and
thank you for having me.
I wish you the best of luck in your startup company and on your Oktoberfest premiere grand opening.
Please come by.
We will do that.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Village of the Arts, the largest artist colony in the state of Florida, located on 42 acres, includes artists, homes, galleries, gardens, and restaurants featuring handcrafted gifts, fine art sculptures, painting, photography, enviro art, healing arts, books, mystics, and musical variety. A few of the galleries are unique in their offerings. Village Voices specializes in books and art created exclusively by Florida residents. The Dancing Crane Gallery offers fine art, custom jewelry, and unique, innovative art. The Village Mystic offers all things metaphysical: meditation, massage, mediums, aromatherapy, psychics, shamans, Reiki healing, and the Gem Mine, where you can mine for your own personal treasure. Yoga Arts offers classes or one-on-one coaching. Musicians and bands can be found throughout the area. Many of the artists and musicians offer classes. Restaurants and bakeries provide respite for the weary and magic for the foodies. Visit during the first Friday Art Walk and stroll through the shops and galleries enjoying free appetizers, wine, music, and demonstrations. For hours and information, please visit the website at www.villageofthearts.com.